Good evening. How are we doing? We're good? We're good. We have to... He's there just because everyone asks. There you go. Pussy watch. He's fine. Whether he stays there, have we descend into some madness or not, is another thing. But he is there. Ah, dear. Evening, guys. Hi, just Craig, the Eternal Crusader, Greg Chimlin, Jackus Woods, the Dag, the Jason Petty, Blood Buffalo, Go Bills. Are you 4-0 now? In Josh Allen we trust. You'll notice that my voice is just about coming back after the greatest narrative 40k event of all time ever. You have to be humble. Like I barely mention that I am the 2021 No Retreat Legend of Legends champion after beating many other legends. I barely mentioned that. I'm surprised it slipped out. And you got to be humble. But when you come away from the greatest narrative 40k event of all time, when people come up to you and say, I just played the best game of 40k I've played in my life, or I've just finished, in the Discord, that was the greatest narrative event I've ever been to. You got to shout about it a little bit. To say it was a success, sort of, it's an insult to the word success. It was awesome. I really enjoyed myself, so much so that I can barely speak. Yesterday, recovering. Today, we are going live. Brap is in the house as well. He won a thing as well at the event. Best Painted Army. We gave away a number of prizes for best armies because there wasn't a first place. It was a narrative event. We had to give away a prize for best painted army as well. And I was trying really hard not to give it to Brap, but here's Minotaurs. All the Vexillas and things and all the chapter markings were all codex compliant. He edge highlighted everything. Edge highlighting silver, edge highlighting metallics hard. All the purity seals written on. It's you can tell he loves the Minotaurs, and it was just glorious. Close run thing though, there were quite a few other armies in there that were really nice as well. It was he nearly didn't get it, but then I went back round the hall and thought, damn, I have to give it to Brap. Ah, dear. Can't remember the greatest event in the world. No, this is just a tribute. Little Broaden's Lance did look fantastic. The standard of painting was insane. Gets better every time. Indeed, every time we do an event, it just goes up and up and up and up and up. It's like, have we reached the ceiling? No. We keep smashing through the ceiling. So I'm here to share the trials, tribulations, my weekend with you guys. Stay hydrated. We've got the electrolytes ready to go. I've got the pussy in the donut. Pussy's having a shower right now. And we're locking in. And we're going to chat to the greatest 40k community on the planet. That's you guys. The greatest 40k. There's a lot of great happening today. I don't like the Minotaurs, but I'm a good person. And Norn Queen Alexis is in his house as well. Hi, Norn Queen Alexis. Check out Norn Queen Alexis on YouTube. We're good. We are recovering after a long, hard weekend. Let me tell you how it went. So me and Sultan, we went up there the day before and managed to get to Element Games at around 2. And then that day on the Friday, me, James from MarchWar.co.uk, Rick Shazam the cameraman, and Sam N played a 10,000 point game for Horus Heresy 3.0 on this custom table full of MarchWar.co.uk terrain with these massive towers, basically inside a hive city. So it's clearly terror. On one side there was the Imperial Fists and Salamanders defending the walls. On the other side, there was the Sons of Horus and Iron Warriors with a smattering of World Eaters running around, and I brought Horus. But that's because Rick brought Dawn along. Now, far from me to be the person to go on and on and on about the same thing and labour a point. You know, you can't just keep mentioning something from many, many years ago. So this is probably the only time I'm ever going to mention this. I'm probably never going to mention this again. But let's mention it now. One of the changes in Heresy 3.0 is, which could never happen before, Primarchs can run away. If you can imagine such a thing. It couldn't happen before. The rules are the rules now. So Primarchs can run away. If they roll natural double sixes on their leadership, it's a fail. They'll get a routed status and they will run. And the first Primarch to run away. I played 21 games of Horus Heresy 3.0 now. Who's counting? I played 21 games. And I haven't seen any Primarchs run away on any of the battle reports that were checked out online. But the first Primarch I have seen to break and run, Rogal Dorn. I might hold this over Valrak for years. No, you can't keep mentioning things again and again and again. No, probably just Rogal Dorn broke and ran. Okay, he broke and ran from some robots. Slow, low initiative, low weapon skill robots. He broke and ran. Tactically withdrawal. No, in this case he ran. He was lost to Khorne in a desert and confused. No, he was lost to some robots and he broke and ran. And then the robots chased down the yellow Rogal Dorn, bonked him on the head and killed him. It's at these moments that Instagram was born. So I might have shouted about it rather loudly on the Instagram and wished that I was filming the battle report. But it's really hard to film a 10,000 point game of Horus Heresy in a very loud hall when you're drinking pink horrors and blue horrors. We were drinking many horrors. Pink horrors because they were pink. They had the vodka in. Blue horrors, I think, had the rum in. I was a bit rough the next day, but not too rough. It was a shameful display. It was a Primarch broke and ran. Now, not sure how I feel about that the rules allow this to happen. But that allow it to happen, they do. And it's very, very rare. But it was Rogal Dorn. You know? Rogal Dorn. Anyway, the next day, we get up. We go down for breakfast at the hotel. And the full English, you know, sausages, egg, bacon, beans, fried bread, coffee, all that works. I could barely put a sausage inside of me. Just one sausage I managed to fit inside of me, and that was it. Sometimes, Blood Buffalo know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you can only fit one sausage inside of you. And off the power of that one sausage, we started the greatest narrative event in the world ever. We started the End and the Death 40k narrative campaign. There's just over north of 80 people in the hall fighting on a dying world as it was slowly getting consumed by the Great Rift. Not just a warp storm, but the warp storm. They were fighting on the surface of a dying world. 2 battles on the first day, 2 battles on the second day, and it ended with people. The warp storm consumed the planet by Mission 4, and it ended with them fighting on the surface of the world with a warp storm raging around them as the planet broke apart under their feet until there was only one person left standing on each table. No turn limits at the end. They just kept fighting and fighting and fighting while the warp storm is picking off random units here, there and everywhere, while Khorne, Tzeentch, Slanesh and Nurgle were all having an influence as well, until there were very, very few units left at the end of the death. And it was much stories were had. It was glorious. I loved going around the hall I think I managed to talk to everyone. I'm sure there'll be one or two people I didn't manage to catch. But going around the hall, listening to the stories, interfering with various games here or there, doing warpy things or nurgly things or corny things here or there, and just trying to drive home narrative gameplay as much as possible. No first place, no last place, just best army awards and best painted awards, and people really, really enjoying Warhammer 40k. It goes to the depth of the core rules as they exist now, that the core rules are solid enough for you to... I mean, Games Workshop. 10th edition is the competitive edition, but they're just missing that narrative mission pack, a Maelstrom of War pack, an open war pack, or something. What they're missing is basic missions in the main rulebook. They got one basic mission in the main rulebook, but if there were 6 basic missions in the... I'm hoping in the next edition they realise that the core rules are deep enough to allow competitive play and narrative play, because we played narrative hard, and it works. It works, and James March is in his house. The Eternal Crusader is in his house. Jackus Woods. We had international guests talking about Jackus Woods all the way from France. We had people from Japan, Tasnara. There was like 4 or 5 people from Germany, 3 or 4 people from Holland, some from Ireland, even people from Wales. Many international guests to Manchester, Element Games, and yeah, it was great fun. So yeah, Friday night, bit rough. Saturday night, someone might have been running around the hall, shouting, saying inappropriate things, but we'll ignore that. Saturday night was a bit rougher, than the Friday, but we recovered and we moved on, and it was lovely. It was absolutely lovely. There were many cultures, many dice. The other thing about the event as well is, I think apart from Votan, every single faction was represented, and so many different Space Marine chapters as well. So many different varieties and types of army. There was no really sweaty list. There were 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 really strong lists, but I wouldn't say they were sweaty lists. Most of the lists were very narrative. Like Jackus Woods brought along a list that was 80% Kroot and 20% battle suits as well. And Archon John was there. At the end, his army, the only Craftworld Eldar player, getting rolled over by this speed war that was escaping these demons. He got deployed, facing some demons. They disappeared back into the warp when the Great Rift came crashing down, and then all of a sudden a speed war was... It was lovely. That crew army was glorious. There was no GSC as well. Okay, no GSC armies, no Votan. Apart from that, what have the Romans ever done for us? That crew army and carry cases. Oh yeah, the crew army was lovely. I'm not sure Jackus Woods did win a game, but I did have a chat with him, and he said he had a lovely time. Like Brap, for example. Brap is in the chat. Best painted army, didn't win a game, but had a lovely time. I think 3 or 4 people didn't win any games. Most people won at least one, because what I did to help make sure that people, like at the end of the first game, there wasn't any Swiss scoring, it wasn't a tournament, anything like that. Win, I got 4 medals. You had 4 badges of winning. Yes, you got 4 medals. Correct, Jackus Woods. Yes. Raging Horn, awesome event. Proper popped my event cherry. Brap Scallion going 0-4 and winning best painted army is probably my dream result from an event. Did anyone escape? So the story is that Gehenna, so at the end, here's the thing. I was going to kill everyone on the planet. I was going to absolutely kill everyone. It'd be the death of the world. And then one person... What happened in the last mission is the 2 armies are just trying to kill each other while the warp is picking off various people. And there were some crystals that you could hold on to which prevented units getting picked away. You couldn't pick away those units with crystals. The crystals gave some protection, and there was a story building up to how and why and when they got these crystals, and they used them in the very last mission. So any unit without crystals was getting pulled away here, there, and everywhere, until there was only units with crystals left. And then the units with crystals were getting picked away here, there, and everywhere. And the crystals, if a unit got picked away, would go to the next closest unit, friend or foe, next closest unit, friend or foe, until on most tables there was one unit left with all the crystals. And here's something that some people at the event might not have known, because I didn't tell this to everyone, but the idea was eventually that they would be the last ones standing on the surface of a dying world as the oceans boiled and the crusts cracked and as the great rift came rushing, and they would die as well. The champion stood on a pile of bones. But one of the persons who came along, and the narrative that they wrote, because I looked at all the lists and some people sent me some narrative, some people didn't, but this person sent me some narrative how their Necrons were, how Gehenna was a tomb world, and the Necrons were waking up. And so I changed the narrative a little bit. These crystals that were sweated onto the surface of the planet that they poked at previous missions, and then they chipped away in the next missions to take with them. Some of them protected, some of them helped. Clearly in the last mission, some of them protected and some of them helped. And so I changed the narrative to say that these crystal structures were basically like an autoimmune response of the tomb world to rid anything of the surface, to either kill or rid anything of the surface from the surface of the planet. It was like Necron tech trying to fortify, corral, pull together, and then expunge the surface of the planet and protect it from the demons and the warp and all the things. It was a Necron thing. The crystals ended up being twist, Necron thing. So some people did survive. At the very end, the unit left on each table with all the crystals ended up getting MacGuffined, Necron teleported back home. And so a happy ending. There's never a happy ending in the grim darkness of the far future, but at my event, happy ending was 1 million guardsmen were deployed on the planet and 5 of them escaped, or a whole company of Minotaurs were deployed on the planet and 1 of them escaped, or the Death Company that were deployed on the planet in their hundreds, 1 of them. The happy ending is, out of the hundreds and thousands, name millions of people who fought in the war that ruined Gehenna, the apocalyptic war. Out of the millions that deployed, 1 here, 1 there, 2 there, 3 there, managed to survive the warp storm and got sent home again. And if you're an Imperial Guardsman, a tank commander, for example, Chris B's tank commander, who suddenly found himself back in his regiment headquarters, like, how am I here? I'm sure the Inquisition won't have any questions for him. And that Imperial Guard tank commander will be absolutely fine after surviving Gehenna. So definitely a happy ending to anyone who got expunged from the planet and managed to get home again. Oh dear. Also glory to the Guard. Hello, Iron Sons. Yeah. So yeah, it's entire chapters were wiped out except for 1 person here, 1 person there. Evening, Sullivan Gilbert. James March, I love giving away my cap. Oh yeah, another thing Rapscallion did is he painted 4 extra captains with his Minotaur's force, and he gave 1 to each of the opponents that fought him that day. So what a great guy. I'll paint some more. Here you go. Here's your trophy. Here is a captain. Are you okay down there? I think he just farted. What a guy. Yeah. So anyway, we're back. Yesterday, after getting back, I basically did nothing. I was pretty rough yesterday. Lazed around, didn't do anything. Today I actually went to the gym and then edited the video that is for tomorrow, and downloaded the update for Space Marine 2. So I'm going to be playing Space Marine 2 again. But yeah, we're back. That was an epic weekend. Very much enjoyed myself. I hope everyone did. Lots of people came up to me to say that it was the greatest narrative 40k event of all time. I really enjoyed myself, and I didn't even play. I love hearing the stories. I love influencing many battles rather than just one battle. And it's nice to see the lots of people enjoying themselves, taking part in a story that you developed, and nice to see people really leaning into it, really enjoying and embracing the narrative, and coming away with their own stories at the end. And Jackus Woods, thank you for dropping £20 in the chat. You absolute legend. You spent like 50 quid on raffle tickets, and now you're dropping 20. Thank you. Can we spam a wall of GGs in the chat for Jackus Woods, please? Had beer money left, just wanted to extend an offer to our international brethren. If you are on a tight budget and want to come to an event, I can give you a spare room near Oxford and take you to the show. DM me in the Discord. What an absolute legend. So someone in the Discord, snap him up on that, because the next event is the King in the North. And then next year, around the same time, so it's about 12 months away, but around the same time, I had so much fun doing this narrative event that we're going to do another one. Big shout out to James March from marchofwar.co.uk, who helped me organise. I say helped me organise. He did all the organising. I did the narrative side of things and ran the event. Came up with the story and all that sort of. I did all the, the easy bit, which is, hey, here's the setting, here's the missions, and run around, and basically, I was there for morale purposes. James behind the scenes did all the organising, organised the lunch, organised the venue, all that sort of stuff, organised Gehenna Prime in the middle of the. He did all that stuff. He did all the hard work. So we're going to do it again next year. I am conscious next year as well there's going to be a new edition. So who knows what the new edition will bring. But one of the greatest things about 40k is you can lean into the narrative. And I'm going to really look forward to leaning into the narrative next year as well. Definitely not a get you. Thank you for your 11 months. I'm about to play some Comp 40k. I will lead Mortarian's finest in your honour. Cool. Enjoy the Comp 40k, mate. The same weekend, while we were doing the End of the Death narrative event, was the LGT, the London Grand Tournament. And I just know that our event was better. It was just better than the LGT. I imagine there's a lot of people who went to the LGT that were, lost a few games or bumped into that guy, or some of them probably had an awesome time. But let's face it, some of them probably had a pretty shit time. But at the greatest narrative 40k event ever, the End of the Death, not that I'm going to labour that point again and again, no one had a shit time. Everyone had a wild time. Everyone had a wild ride. It was awesome. And I know which event I'd rather go to. James's scenery is next level. It was good, wasn't it? Yeah, so next year, I had no idea what the setting's going to be. No idea what the story's going to be. Something will pop into my brain at some point in the next 12 months. But yeah, next year, apparently Jackus Wood has got a house or a spare room somewhere near Oxford, and you can run up and down in the car, an international guest with him, talk 40k all the way. I mean, that's part of the fun, going up with Sultan, chatting all the way up, coming down with Sultan in the car, chatting all the way down, just talking 40k. Raging Horn, thank you for your 7 months. Think I'll need a more narrative army for the next one I can get to. Imperial agents, assassins themed perhaps, or Firstborn Death Watch, or a combo. Yeah. All sounds good. All sounds good. Ultimately, you can bring a pretty standard Space Marine list and then just add a couple of characters that you have names for and lean one way, like make it a bit more mechanized or a bit more dreadnoughty or a bit more Gravis-y or a bit more recon-y. You know, add a bit more flavor one way or the other. And a list can look fairly narrative fairly quickly, just by thinking of a theme. Like Sultan, for example, he brought the Death Company. Everything was in black. And with a big chonking Spartan and another Land Raid, a couple of Brutalis, and then chaplains with jump packs, and from the Legends Choice, a Death Company captain. His Death Company captain with a jump pack was the only thing that survived the Ruin Storm, not the Ruin Storm, but the Warp Storm with Gehenna at the end. So you just lean one way or the other. Sultan's army was so good, yeah. How did the meta Emperor's Children list get on at the weekend? It wasn't fully meta. How did it get on? It got on really well. But what it was, and Raging Horn just sent 10 gifted memberships. Can we have a massive GG wall of spam in the chat for Raging Horn for gifting 10 memberships? Thank you, Raging Horn. You absolute legend. Met him for the first time at the event. He is a Horn, and he's raging, and he's very, very generous. Thank you. Thank you. How did the meta Emperor's... So there was an Emperor's Children list that was quite strong. Now, the thing about the Emperor's Children list that was quite strong was he actually won. What we did at the end was, between Mission 3 and Mission 4, everyone set up their armies on the tables, and everyone voted on the best army. Community vote for the best army. And you could all there was loads of Instagram pics that came up as people taking pictures. There was 5 or 6 armies that got a lot of votes. Looking at all the armies and all the tables, 5 or 6 armies that got a lot of votes. But the strong meta-ish Emperor's Children list actually won the best army community vote because it was gorgeous. It was sisters converted into Emperor's Children. If you check out my Instagram, Winters SEO, I don't know what my Instagram is. Chat, what's my Instagram? If you check out, I put a picture of this Morden Val Demon Prince conversion on my Instagram, and they were all converted. They're sisters that thought they're still praying to the God Emperor of Mankind, but it was the sexy God Emperor of Mankind. And basically, he paid twice for his entire army, all the sisters models and all the Emperor's Children models, and are really well converted. And he didn't play it really, really sweatily either. He leaned into the narrative, and I think he went 2-2 or 3-1. You want out? Go. Tired old pussy trying to fall asleep. And here's me chatting away in the background. So it was, he had a great time. It was a great army. And everyone thought it was a great army, gave him the best vote. Yeah, what I did was, because there was no Swiss pairings or anything like that, is we had a system to mark whether people were doing well or badly. And so I was trying to put together people who were doing not very well and trying to put together. It's easy when you keep walking around the hall. Like, I didn't sit down for 2 days. Well, I sat down very little for 2 days, kept going around and around and around the hall. So there was 3 or 4 or 5 people who were doing really well or well on days on the first day. And then on the second day, you make sure that they end up fighting each other as well. Like, you guys, you come here, and I'm literally grabbing people and putting them on tables. And I only had to do that like to 4 or 5 tables. But it's better for them, right? If you come with a strongish army, or even if you haven't got a strongish army, even if you've got like an okay army, but you're a really good player, because you play 40k all the time and you do tournaments and you at a narrative event, you'll naturally just do really well because you're a really good player. So making sure that those armies and those players were fighting each other, and it's better for those armies and those players as well. They don't want to put all their miniatures down and face a narrative player across the other side of the table and it's over in 2 turns for them. It's boring for them. And it's just no fun for anyone. But if you grab that person and you grab the other person over there who's 2-0, and this person's brought all the big bug tyranids, and this person's brought all the big bug tanks, and they're all you stick them together on the same and they have more fun that way. So I was trying to personally match up people with stronger armies against people with stronger armies, and personally match up people with weaker armies with weaker armies, personally trying to match up people with stronger play styles together or weaker play styles together. Now again, I'm sure there's a few people who slip through the cracks, but I didn't sit down. I was going around the hall all the time, talking to people, interfering, and making sure everyone was having a good time. And occasionally putting a Titan on the table and shooting their armies, or giving them command points, or pointing at units going, ooh, and then zapping them from a long, long way away with a piece of warp and basically being a nuisance. If you come to an event, one of my events called The End and the Death, and you don't expect some kind of outside interference, basically like Blood Bowl, there's pitch invasions, and I was the pitch, or the invader. It was lovely. Bye, James. James is off. Still got to catch up on his sleep. Yeah, I was walking around carrying a warhound at one point. Hi, Svendax Fizz. Good to see that you're back again. That's good. That 6 mortals to all units killed about 900 points of elves, including the warlord. Yeah, there was a bit where the planet convulsed and everyone's army moved 10 inches to the right. So if you're facing your opponent, their entire army went that way and your entire army went that way. Units were ripped out of close combat together. Units ended up bumping into close combat together. Everything flew to the right or left, depending on which way around you were facing, by this convulsion. And then some units were thrown off the edge of the table and into these chasms and fell down into these cracks and just died. You had things like that happening, which was lovely. Yeah. It's mechanics that make narrative sense and that are extremely painful, because it's the end and the death. It was brutal. Each fight was brutal. That was hilarious. Poor opponent and lost some tanks. When it got thrown. Archon John played me with howling banshees that moved. 24 inches. Yeah, there was another battle where each of the Chaos Gods intervened. At the start, Khorne turned up. And everything on the tables all got +1 attack. No good if you're Tau, but great if you're Custodes. So what I did for the Tau, actually, everyone gets +1 attack, but the Tau players also get +1 weapon skill as well. Close combat Tau, go. That was Khorne's thing. Slaanesh turned up, and you could select one of your units and double its movement speed. Suddenly we had Leviathan Dreadnoughts moving 16 inches. We had Howling Banshees moving 24 inches and charging. We had Demon Princes jumping 20 inches across the table. One unit suddenly doubling the movement. Chris B had a Rogel Dawn battle tank going 20 inches. That was Slaanesh's influence. Tzeentch. Then Tzeentch turned up later in the battle and decided that he is the changer of ways. It is the changer of ways. Decided that fate would be fixed. That fate sometimes is set. That each blow will land or miss. That each wound will land or miss. That each save is... Tzeentch turned up and turned off all rerolls until the end of that particular battle. The dice told the story. All rerolls. About 5 or 6 Space Marine players complained to me about... No one complained. But 5 or 6 Space Marine players did point out to me that losing Oath of Moment was quite painful. Oh dear. And there was 3 or 4 people who said, what about Twin Linked? Is it a reroll? Yeah, gone. Rerolls turned off. And then Nurgle turned up and grabbed whatever weakest units were on the table and sucked them down into the mire and removed them from play. Each of the 4 gods came out to play that particular battle. Not me. Not me. That was the Chaos Gods. The Chaos Gods intervening. The thing about doing things like that at a narrative event as well is it just adds fun, it adds stories, people coming up to you afterwards and saying, oh, this happened over here with this guy and that was happening. And it's the stories, man. I love the stories. Slaanesh touched my opponent's Grey Knight Grandmaster. He moved 20 inches and made an 11-inch charge to purge a soul grinder. Yeah, Slaanesh. You see, Sven Axvist, who you would have seen in one of the recent battle reports, the Slaanesh Demons. He was there with the Slaanesh Demons slightly tweaked list. And there were 2 Grey Knight armies. So I made sure both Grey Knight players, because he was the only mono demon army at the end of the death. And there's 2 Grey Knight armies at the end of the death. I asked him, would you mind facing 2 Grey Knights at the same event? He was like, no, bring it on. Let's tell this story. So I threw both Grey Knight players at him. Made sure both Grey Knight players were hunting demons on the surface of Gehenna. And yeah, at least one of the Grey Knight players won as well. Oh dear. I just caught up with that video today. Absolutely banging bat rep. I know. The Slaanesh Demon Grey Knight Battle Report is a really, really good one. If you guys haven't seen it, if you haven't had a chance to catch up with that particular one, go and watch it. It's banging. And his Slaanesh Demon army is awesome. And I nearly gave him best painted as well. He was one in the... You were in the contention because I love your army. And Rue just sent 10 gifted memberships. Can we get a wall of GGs in the chat for Rue, please? Thank you so much, Rue. You missed a banger, mate. Maybe next time. This time next year. But it was an absolute banger. And thank you for your 10 gifted memberships. You legend. It's getting hot in here. I'm going to take off all my clothes. It's getting hot in here. Take off. Getting so hot. I'm going to take my clothes off. With a little bit of and a little bit of Open the window. Yeah, but your army, Sven, it's lovely. But watch that battle report. If you haven't seen the Slaanesh Demons versus Grey Knight battle reports, it's got story written all over it. It was lovely. The Winters grow a beard so he can be Santa Claus for Christmas. No, I can do a goatee, but I can't do full beard. Round here it gets a bit raggedy. Goatee works, but she doesn't like the goatee. So we sang that in perfect unison, Winters, did we? A little bit of and a little bit of That's how it goes, right? I think. I don't know. Yeah, I think. The absolute state of it. What do you mean, Brap? The absolute state of what? Britain's Got Talent, yo. I don't want to go on Britain's Got Talent. I just win everything, you see. I just embarrass a few people, so I can't. Something, you've got to be humble. You've got to be humble. You can't mention things again and again and again. And you can't toot your own horn. You can't. You just have to humble. Take a step back. One comment above that one, bozo. What? He doesn't even put on proper trousers to be on camera. I'm rocking the merch. What, these? Jim Jams, yo. Don't know what time it is in the world where you are, but after I've done the live stream and played a little bit of Space Marine 2, I'm going to bed. I'm in my Jim Jams already. That's and Des, thank you for 37 months of membership. Happy Tuesday to you too, so you absolute legend. 37 months is a long time. Legend. Rue, thank you for dropping a £2.50 super chat as well. You dropped some memberships and now you're dropping a chat. GG's in the chat for Dats and Deads and Rouge, you legends, both of you. Sorry to miss the event. Hopefully be at the next. I hope you will too. I know you'll enjoy yourself. You've been to a couple of my events before, so you know what's on the cards. But this one, I was looking forward to this one so much beforehand. I had so much fun. You can tell by my throat how much fun I had. And this one was probably the greatest narrative 40k event in the world ever. But you got to be humble. I can't keep going on. When are you releasing pajama pants? Yeah, Primarch Rogal Dawn run away. Yeah, we mentioned that at the start of the stream. Rogal Dawn broke and ran yellow like his namescape. There's a legendary Winter's Champion. Yeah, legendary. One of my favourite moments from the event was Badger King's Tau rail gun missing on the next table, landing on... Yeah, Badger King's rail gun missed, shot from one table onto another table, and destroyed one of your objectives. As it happens. Hi, Weasel. Gutted you couldn't make it. Yeah, gutted you couldn't make it either. There was a... Yeah. About 5 or 6 people couldn't turn up in the end for various reasons. Rogal Dawn was not tactically repositioning in the 10,000 point Horus Heresy game I played the night before. He was running. He ran. He ran the full distance he could possibly run. He was out of there. And then some robots came over and battered him into oblivion. It was funny. I laughed. I was very drunk. And yeah, I'm not the sort of person to hold that over Rick Shazam for years and years and years. I'm not the sort of person who will just mention that again and again every time he comes down here for a battle report. I won't. I'll probably never mention it on camera again. Probably. I am the most humble. What do you mean you're the most humble? I'm the most humble. Tazanara, all the way from Japan. Thanks for the event. High Fleet Goliath will return. Yeah, Tazanara came over with the German invasion. He's been over to King in the North and March of Winter. He's been over for a few events. He's been on the channel as well. And this time he brought reinforcements with him. And I have to say, the Germans were lovely. On the evening on the Saturday, I was really trying to get them to laugh, but trying to make the Germans laugh is no laughing matter. And I think I made one of them crack a smile at some point. But that was funny the Saturday night. That's what broke my voice. Don't worry, nobody noticed you were drunk. Good. I'm glad I got away with it. What was it that happened to Jackass's table? Singled out and loads of mortal wounds everywhere. Yeah, that happened. Look, there was some singling out of various people at various points for various reasons, okay? And when the skies were boiling and the Great Rift was rolling across the surface of Gehenna, there was still quite a lot of Kroot left. And the clock was ticking. So the Great Rift might have taken away quite a few of them. It was Kroot versus Guard. That fight was going to go on for another 2 hours. If the clanging chimes of doom, if Nurgle's bell hadn't kept ringing. And every 10 minutes Nurgle's bell kept ringing. And units just died. If they didn't notice you were drunk, you weren't drunk enough. I don't know if I could have got any drunker. Drukhari dice didn't sell out on pre-order. Usually all faction dice sell out fast. That means very low sales for Dark Eldar. Yeah, Dark Eldar are one of the lowest selling. The other thing about them is, if you're a Dark Eldar player and the Codex drops now, and you know in like 2 weeks or 6 months, whenever it is, 2 weeks or 6 months, the edition's changing. It's changing. Are you bothered? Or are you just going to go, well, I'll stick with my index and my Grotmas Christmas calendar detachment, and I'll sit this codex out. I'll sit this edition out. I'll wait for the next one. You know, I think there's a few Drukhari players who are like, meh. Not that there are very many Drukhari players. It's definitely one of the lowest played factions, along with Admech. Votan are surprisingly... You'd think that Votan would be down there. But I think there's something about Votan, because they're newish. People like Votan, and there's quite a few Votan armies. None at the event. but people like Votan. If witches weren't absolutely terrible, okay. There was a Drukhari list at the end of the death event as well. I want a whole witch army. That'd be nice. I want a whole Hellraiser army. You know, like grotesque, that sort of thing. Army. Mandrakes. Lean into it. If I was getting a Drukhari army, Hellraiser type, that is just, yeah. Deathwatch and Imperial Agents are probably lowest. Deathwatch is pretty... Well, Imperial Agents isn't really a proper army, is it? Is it? It's not. It's an allies book. This is how you ally stuff. So that's pretty low. Demons are pretty low. Mono demons are pretty low. There's some that are pretty low. But they haven't... I mean, Deathwatch hasn't had any real support. Like Drukhari hasn't had any real support. And demons haven't had any real support for the longest time now. I don't think the children in the room noticed Winters was drunk. Good. What's your new thoughts on all the Ultramarine stuff? My new thoughts on it is great. So Ultramarines upgrade sprues are out a year after Space Marine 2 was released. It's like, oh look, that game Space Marine 2 did surprisingly well. Let's release an upgrade sprue for them. I think Blood Angels have got an upgrade sprue already. There should be, let's face it, all the big 9 first founding Space Marine chapters should have an upgrade sprue of some description. Should, right? So if you're collecting Blood Angels, there's some sprues. Space Wolves, sprues. Iron Hands, they used to have in the old days. Like I remember back in, was it 3rd edition? You could buy a sprue pack for Iron Hands with loads of bionic stuff and their shoulder pads. They've done this every now and then. For a couple of Space Marine chapters. They've done it a bit here or there for various Space Marine chapters through the years. And they should do it more and they should do it again. So yeah, great that the Ultramarines have finally... Ultramarines have just got an upgrade sprue. That's my thoughts on it. Is they didn't have an upgrade sprue beforehand? And Eldar should have no, Eldar don't need an upgrade sprue. Eldar shouldn't, no. Eldar should basically, no. They need Craftworld Eldar. What they need is the bin. That's what they need. Do you think Winters, that with an army that receives lower support, that a full range refresh would be enough to bump them up, or the numbers not lie and there's no real point? So yeah, so Drukhari were the army with the lowest support for a long time before they did the big plastic range refresh in 6th edition. I think it was 5th or 6th, end of 5th, beginning of 6th. And to answer your question, would it be enough? Well, when they did it the last time, it was huge. They sold a lot of Dark Eldar. And back then I was going to lots of tournaments and things and suddenly ran into lots of Dark Eldar. And one of the SEOs, Phoenix SEO, bought Dark Eldar. He was a Tau player, then he bought Dark Eldar. And he was running around with Venom spam lists all of a sudden. When they do full refreshes, yes, they sell a lot. When's the last time they did it would but work, it would be enough when they release, like the Votan, for example. There's a surprising amount of Votan players out there because people like new shit. They're like, oh, that's brand new, I'm getting that. Emperor's Children, mono faction Emperor's Children. The codex isn't really a whole codex, there's only about 2 units in it. I got 3,000 points, like Emperor's Children, getting them. Yeah, if they refresh that range, they would sell a lot. People love the new stuff. I still like my Dark Eldar army. It was 2,000 points. Now it's more like 1,200, yeah. That's really interesting to hear. It's good that you're so old you can give us these facts. Yeah, the old Drukhari was in metal with weird venoms. They didn't have venoms. They had Ravagers and the other ones. And they were not played. You never saw them at any events. And I know, like I said, I was going to a lot of events and a lot of tournaments at the time. And then they redesigned the Dark Eldar Codex. It was Phil Kelly who did it. And the Dark Eldar range. And I remember talking to him at a games day, actually. it was around the time. So Games Workshop, here's a news flash for you. Games Workshop occasionally legends all their stuff, and suddenly there's units that you can't play with anymore. So there was a time when there were pariahs in the Necron range, for example, and various lead models in the Necron range and things. And what they did is they moved away from the lead Necrons into the plastic Necrons, refreshed the entire range, and squatted a bunch of units that the Necron players could have previously. I know, shock horror, the idea that Games Workshop many decades ago would take entire model ranges and collections that people have and make them useless. They would never repeat such a silly mistake, would they? But they've done it, and they did it decades ago. They just trashed the whole thing and reset the Necrons, and we had loads of new plastic Necron sculpts and things like that, and it was a massive success. And suddenly loads of people bought Necrons and were playing Necrons. And then I was talking to Phil Kelly like a couple of years later at one of the games days, because the Dark Eldar book was... I wasn't talking to... That's a lie, actually. I couldn't talk to Phil Kelly. My mate, James, was talking to Phil Kelly because I couldn't summon the courage to talk to Phil Kelly because I was really nervous. I was like at the table like, it's Phil Kelly, because I recognised Phil Kelly. I couldn't talk to him. It's like, you could ask him about you could ask him about the Drukhari thing. I know he did. In the front of the codex it says Phil Kelly. It's his name in there. Back when they used to put names in, go and ask him about the thing and the thing and the thing. So James went over there, and Phoenix went with him as well, and started asking him questions about the Dark Eldar. It wasn't Drukhari back then. Started asking him questions, and I'm hanging around in the background going, Phil Kelly's talking to my friends. Ask him about the thing. And he was saying that because of the big success of the refresh, relaunch of the Necron range, everything into plastic, he was able to lean harder into the Drukhari range, refresh, upscale, everything. Basically, he said the Necron refresh was so successful, that's what they did, because that allowed the studio to lean on Games Workshop and do a bigger refresh of the Drukhari than was planned. And surprise, surprise, it was massively successful as well. And then because of the Drukhari refresh, which was massively successful, then they did the Grey Knight refresh, and they got their own codex, and Cyborg ammunition was everywhere, and the Stormraven gunship, you could suddenly take it in the Grey Knight stuff, and you had Thrawn, who's now gone. You had Drago, who's now gone. Games Workshop taking away miniatures again. Anyway, so yes, range refreshes work. That's what Phil said. I heard him say it. And I'm really pleased I brought some friends with me because I couldn't talk to him. I did meet him once. I did talk to him once when I went to play on Warhammer Live. Before Warhammer Plus was Warhammer Plus or Warhammer TV. Whatever it's called now, it was called Warhammer Live. And I was introduced to him, and I fangirled and just said, thank you, thank you, thank you. And shook his hand, didn't wash my hand for about a week. Thank you, you're Phil Kelly, thank you. And that's all I could say. And blushing and things. And I did talk to him, and he kind of looked at me kind of weird. Like, you're a bit weird. I'm like, well, he didn't say that, but I could see him looking at me, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm weird. I'm a geek. I embrace the inner geek. And you are Dark Eldar God. I love you. Andy H, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. You absolute legend. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I geeked out proper hard. What are we talking about? I am old. I do remember a few things. I can't remember what I had last Tuesday for dinner, but I can remember a few things. Tonight was sticky honey beef with rice, snap peas, and egg. It's a weird, healthy combination, but it tastes so good. It's one of the things that she makes. She got it out of this Australian health cookbook. It's so good. You get the fried egg on top of this sticky honey beef with a bed of rice and these snap peas, and it's just something about the... Anyway, thank 5 5 gifted memberships. GG's in the chat to Andy H, please. Absolute legend. What's this? Bro question. Do you have any good examples of Astartes actually using their omophagy organ? It seems like it's forgotten, like the Belcher's gland. I can't. No. Right now, no. If I meet any of them, I'd ask them to finish the Badab War models. I expect that was me this weekend with you. What, the fangirling? Dude. It's weird. Like when some people are like a little bit nervous around me. It's really weird. I think that's why I try and I'm just another geek. I'm just another gamer who is so lucky that I can share my hobby with you guys. How we ended up here, where here I am on a Tuesday night chatting with a bunch of other geeks, it's just amazing. Like when I was a lad, we used to work 20 miles to pit. When I was a lad, there was no YouTube, there was no internet. If you didn't have a mate that lived next door or down the street, you didn't play Warhammer. And here we are chatting away. And I'm so surprised that I'm here. And that people come up to me and say, yeah. Because, I'm just another arsehole, you know. You're really good at talking to new people, really welcoming and nice. I like chatting to people about their hobbies. I like hearing the stories and why they painted something that way or why they added the thing or what they thought about the other thing. I like talking about my hobby with other people who like talking about... It's like if you're football. If we were all football fans, we would be chatting, the match is a very short period of time in the week, and then the rest of the time in the pub you're all talking about the striker or the thing or what the manner. That part of football culture, 99% of the time of football culture is talking about football and 1% is actually watching it. Same with this hobby. 99% about the hobby, the fun, the passion, the excitement of the hobby is talking about it and sharing in the stories and sharing in the lived experiences of people, and that I find fascinating. I see Peachy a lot around my way. Odd seeing people off the telly. Were you a lad when they were inventing chess? I invented chess. They invented chess before fire. Winters, how does it feel knowing you're thousands of people's Phil Kelly now? I'm not. I think Raging Horn at the end of the event said, 3 cheers. Winter's SEO and his crew, hip hip, and I immediately ran and dived behind the desk to save my blushes. It was I'm not people's... Phil Kelly's got real talent and he's a nice guy, and without I don't know this. I don't how why who I've no idea. Okay, no idea. I'm old. Winters is an intimidating presence. He practically threw chocolate hobnobs at me and my family and demanded we drink tea. Yeah. See, that's how you get round it. When people go all Phil Kelly on me, like, catch, drink that tea now, milk 2 sugars, you're having a builder's brew, you Australian slag. This is NATO standard dish. You're in the UK, you have to drink that now. And that's what you do. And then you get people to be horrified by your presence, and then that kind of breaks the ice. You know what I mean? Good night, Brap. Have a lovely night. Does anyone know when Warhammer Day is this year? Does anyone know in the chat when Warhammer Day is this year? I have no idea. I just work here. Yeah, it is definitely. Warhammer Day is definitely a day this year. Has it already been? I don't know. It's probably already been. It might be Warhammer Day next year. Hydrate and stay hydrated. Bring back NEC Birmingham Games Day. Yeah, that's the last Games Day I went to was Betrayal Part 1 when the Angron miniature was released and Horus Rising. That was the last one. That was at the NEC Birmingham. If they do the NEC Birmingham Games Day again at some point, I might go again. But yeah, it was so good. 10,000 people in the hall. I guess back then as well, the internet wasn't that big. So that's why if you wanted to see the things, you had to go and see the thing. But these days, if you want to see the things, you just need to turn on your phone. Hi, Gibraltar. It's in October, is it? Warhammer is in October. You need to pick up the new Smash Captain. You know the new Smash Captain, when he comes out, he's going to be the most broken thing ever, right? That's how this works. A new Smash Captain with a hammer is coming. We're like, him and his unit do 28 mortal wounds on the charge, reduce all damage by 1, get all the food. He'll have the once per battle fights first. And the once per battle move out the way when you charge him. And the once per battle get back up again after he dies. There's a lot of once per battle things happening all of a sudden, isn't there? It doesn't feel like they're happening once per battle. It feels like 7 things happen once per battle now. And the once per battle things, they're particularly gotchery, you know? Like, oh yeah, my army does this, and I've got these stratagems that do this, and da, 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 da. But you can't tell your opponent every single rule that your entire army does before a game, because that would take as long as the game with all the data sheet stuff going on. You can't tell them everything. You should definitely tell your opponent, yeah, I've got a once per battle, 4 at feel no pain to all those things. You should definitely tell them if you've got any once per battle stuff. But when you end up having 17 once per battle things, it's really hard to talk about all the once per battle things. And so it's so gotchy, you know, the once per battle things. Do we think once per battle things are a good idea? Or do we think that when 11th edition comes round, there should be no once per battle things? I mean, you guys have got many armies and play much. Do you like the once per battle things? Are they good? So long as you have like one once per battle thing for maybe one character that does it once. Or do you think it's a bit too... I don't know. What do you think? Like, maybe if there's one thing once that one person does, fine. But when your army has 78, you know, when there's a bit too many once per battles, it doesn't feel very once per battle, you know? Am I making any kind of sense? Probably not. Don't answer that question. What do you think about the once per battle thing? Guys, Custodes, yes, there are many once per battle things. Like once per battle, what's the other one? Like Fury of the Ancients, I suddenly go batshit and I've got extra attacks and extra AP and extra things. You know that one? But they always have other abilities too. I know it's like they have once per battle and other stuff on top. Does it? If everyone gets once per battle, then no one is once per battle. It doesn't feel special. I don't mind it for things like someone gets up. So yeah, that's like a once per battle. Hi, Ancient. Getting back up after someone gets knocked down and dead. See, that's another thing. That used to be really rare. It used to be like Saint Celestine. And that was pretty much it. The living saint had the opportunity to stand back up again once she was smashed. And Guilliman. And then Guilliman turned up. And then it's a Guilliman living saint thing. And that was it. And that was fine. Those two. Now you can get back up again if you're a Necron dude. You can get back up again if there's loads of strats and CPs and things where someone's dead, but they're only mostly dead. You know? Finally over the hangover, Inshin. Yeah, it took me a while as well. I feel like it should be limited to named characters once per battle, right? Just have a standard set of perhaps a once per battle things. So we're liking once per battles then, guys. We like rules that are once per battle. It should just be your warlord. Rules should support intriguing decisions making, not cheeky gotchas. Yeah, that's what I feel like. The once per battle feels more cheeky gotcha than intriguing decision making, you know? That's what I'm That's what I feel. We even have get back up enhancements. We do have get back up enhancements. We do. There's that, again, off the top of my head, there is a Necron get back up enhancement. Guilliman's got back up ability isn't even very good. Every army seems to have every rule. It's straight, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of overlapping rule, overlapping rules, overlapping rules. That's easy for me to say. Overlapping. What? Blah, blah, blah. English. Do you speak it? What? Gothic. Do you speak it? What? Do you speak Gothic in Tau? What? Say what again, Tau motherfucker? Say what again? What? They don't speak Gothic in Tau. I agree with just Warlord, and perhaps only as an enhancement you pay for. I've had a thought when it comes to command rerolls. What if we limit it to within 12 of your Warlord, limits the effect and makes the Warlord more important thoughts? They did that in before 10th edition. Warlords, you know, remember when captains and characters had this bubble aura going around them rather than being attached to units? I think the problem with bubble auras is people then put their characters in the backfield so they could keep using the bubble auras so the characters aren't dying. And that wasn't very... We want captains at the front. We want librarians at the front. We want characters leading from the front. If you've got bubble auras and bubble auras that are locked with warlords, you're going to see people protecting their warlords. So I'm not a fan of that mechanic. Well, they have reinvented the rules so many times now that each edition is just a random collection of past ones. I wish they would just settle on one set. They're never going to do that. See, Call of Duty every single year releases another Call of Duty. Because every Call of Duty, and why do they do it once a year, every year, once a year, every year? Because every time they release another Call of Duty, people buy another Call of Duty. FIFA. People buy another FIFA. People just yearly. Games Workshop wish they could release another edition every single year. 3 years is about. Don't give them. I don't want to give them any ideas, but yeah, if they could release a 40k edition every 2 years, they would. And if they could do it every year, they would. They would too. Because every time you release a new edition, people buy it. They're never going to sell on one. They want you to buy all the things again and again and again. Buy Sven Fist. It's the year of chaos. This year was the year of chaos. And it's gone. Where were the Chaos Demons in the year of chaos? Where were the Chaos Demons? Warlords are commanders. What commanding effect do they provide, though? I think they should be warlord traits. I would like to see, like relics have gone and warlord traits have gone. Wouldn't it be nice if, for non-epic heroes, non-named characters, you picked a warlord trait, and in your codex there were 6 warlord traits. And like one made him more fighty, one made him more shooty, one made him more buffy, one made him more this, one made him more that. And you picked your warlord trait. That would be cool. And that's what your warlord does. I'm pretty sure Chaos lost more units than they gifted us this year. Yeah. Well, if you add Emperor's Children in, though, like, that's a whole new faction. And they look so pretty, the Emperor's Children. I'm surprised they don't release a new updated rulebook every year. I'd likely buy it. No, don't encourage them, Marius Gage. Don't encourage them. I don't want a new updated rulebook every year. Mind you, instead of, they do the chapter approved, the balance status late, they do all of that. Imagine if we had digital rules. And then the rulebook, instead of every 3 weeks, 3 seconds, 3 months, whenever they ever did the balance stuff, right, which seems to happen every other week, imagine they just did the balance stuff once a year, every year, and there were digital rules, and it was straight bang into the digital rules. That I could buy. That would be a good idea. I feel for my Demons army. I feel like Demons are on their way out of 40k. I don't think so. I think Demons are going to come back in a big way. I think the Grey Knights are awaiting a refresh. And then there's the Great Rift. There's the Yellow King. There's the return of the Primarchs. There's lots of stuff going on in the background. They're building a new factory. Factory 5 was supposed to go live in January. It's going to go live in June. Now, according to the latest news reports, that will increase their capacity by 33%. I think they're waiting on and then the Henry Cavill thing, and then the Dan Abnett. There's something inside. There's something behind. Something inside the thing. Yes, and I think when the Grey Knights refresh happens, I think we're going to get a bit of a demon refresh as well. Because the demon range isn't just a 40k thing, it's also an AOS thing. It's also yes. And also they put the demons inside like the mono faction. Like they're in World Eaters now. They're in Death Guard now. They're in Emperor's Children now. And that worked. They ended up selling out for various demons kits when that dropped. So they found a way to sell more demons to more people. And one of the ways to sell more demons to more people is to put demons inside codexes where they don't belong. And now they belong there. So we're going to see demons inside those monofaction codexes forever going forward. And they sold. And then tie that in with the Grey Knight refresh and all the lore and all the stuff happening behind the scenes. And the demon refresh is long overdue. I think demons are going to get there. Whether it's a big chunk, and because what they could do is in 11th edition, 12th edition, whenever the Grey Knights refresh happens around the same time, and I mean ideally at the very same date, but if not the very same date, within a month, they do a massive demon refresh at the same time. That would be amazing. And then suddenly you've got Grey Knights, and a month later demons, and loads of lovely, lovely demons, and they could do it the same in AOS, and then all the new lovely, lovely demons as well that you see also end up in the Death Guard Codex, the World Eaters Codex, not all of them, but you know what I mean, Emperor's Children Codex, and they would make a lot of money. They would make a lot of wonga. Did I miss the narrative event talk? Yes. I banged on about it at the beginning. You'll have to rewind, go back to the start of the stream. I mean, are we ready for Games Workshop to go mainstream? We don't have a choice, and they have gone mainstream. They are pretty mainstream. I was in Asda the other day and saw T-shirts with like Warhammer corn stuff on it in Asda. That's as mainstream as it gets. When little Timmy or your nan knows about Warhammer because of Henry, or because of Secret Level Episode 5, or because of Space Marine 2, or whatever, when they know and have heard of Warhammer, then it's gone mainstream. Back in the day, when you said, I play Warhammer, people go, what? Well, there's these little men, and I touch them a lot. And people go, what? But now you can go, yeah, Warhammer. And they might go, what? You go, you know, Space Marines? They'll go, oh yeah, Space Marines, yeah. It's pretty main. It's in Asda. It's on T-shirts in Asda. Lincoln said it best. Be careful what you wish for with 40k going mainstream. Dude, it's a British, it is happening. Whether we like it or not, it's happening. It's so weird. You don't seem to get punched anymore when you say you play Warhammer. Dude, the geeks took over the world, man. Remember back in school? Like, I'm a geek. I love the geeky things. Punch. You used to get punched a lot. But now they're like, the geeks invented the internet and all the apps we use, and geeks and Lord of the Rings and superhero movies. The geeks, suddenly it's cool to be a geek. I can tell you, when I was in a school in Swindon in the 80s, it was not cool to be a geek. It was definitely not cool to be a geek. But it is now. It's called having a personality. Yeah, I remember that in high school too. I got out of being bullied by getting the bullies into 40k. That's probably the way to do it. Get the bullies into the 40k. Yeah. I just lean into it, man. I leaned into it back then. I leaned into it in my 20s. I'm 52 and I'm still leaning in it. Just lean into it. I told my wife on our first date, our very first date, we're chatting away, making a first impression. I remember thinking before I went on my first date, like, I gotta tell her, like, if she's the one, she's the one. And if she isn't the one, she isn't the one. If she wants to be my future girlfriend, she'll be my future girlfriend. If she doesn't want to be my future girlfriend, then she won't be my future girlfriend. So I gotta tell her. And so I told her, and I was like, yeah, I do this thing called Warhammer. She's like, I heard of that. Hasn't it got little men? I went, yeah, I touch lots of little men. Here's some pictures on my phone. She went, yep. That's a fun and exciting hobby. Thanks for sharing that with me. I went, yep. She's like, how much Warhammer do you do? I said, well, all the Warhammer. I do all the Warhammer. She's like, do you touch a lot of little men? I went, yeah, 4 or 5 times a week right about now, but you know, this is a first date, and we might end up in a relationship, and if we do, I won't touch him as many times a week because I'll be touching you. And she said, fair enough, and laughed. Humour works. Anyway, tell him straight out. I lean into it at the start. Just tell him straight. This is who I am. This is what I do. I like the little men. I always have. We like you. We all like touching the little men and putting paint on them, pushing them around the table, and making stories in our head, and sometimes pew pew noises. You just lean into it. If the person, the friend, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, they'll understand. They'll get it. If they're meant to be in your world, and if they're not meant to be in your world, they won't understand, they won't get it, and they'll leave, and that's fine. They're not meant to be in your world anyway. What if she responded, I play Tau on the first day? I would have been over the moon. I'd have been, yes, you play Tau? Fuck yeah, let's go. Why are we here in this bar? Let's go back home, play 40k now, we can get pissed there, let's go. I'd have been amazed. Like, I remember the first few times I went to Warhammer World, like back in the 90s, before they even did the big shop front thing, when Bugman's Bar was a proper Warhammer tavern. Like, now it's fairly sanitized. It's still got the theme to it, but it used to be like walking in the Inn and the Prancing Pony. It used to be like a proper Warhammer Fantasy seedy bar with maps and straw and bales of hay and gaming tables set like chess. They used to lean into the theme, and that's before they did the big front on the door. That's before they redid the hall. The hall was drafty and cold and awful. There were no girls at all, no women for as far as within 5 square miles of Willow Road in Nottingham. You couldn't find a woman. Now when you go there, it's like 20%. 20%, I would say. That's amazing. It's good. It's good. It's geeks took over the world. Even the girls like it now. Even girls like it. Who'd have thought it? Amazing. What about if she said, I play Eldar? I would have just thrown the beer straight in her face and stormed right out of there. I'd been gone. What is this? Outrageous. They should be dead, dying species. What are you... Ah! And I'd have stormed out. There may have been police pressing charges by the end of it. You watch Space King? Not the new one. I will watch Space King, yes. I am aware that there is a new Space King. Plan to teach any prospective Mrs. Cravens Warhammer on the first date. You want to teach them on the first... No, Craven didn't. Don't start teaching them the Warhammers on the first date. You wait a while. So I waited a while. And then, we're dating for a bit and things like that. And I'm still touching men on the tables and moving them around. Then I said, hey, do you want to touch men with me? And she went, no. Do you want to, and then later it was like, this is a really, you read? I see you reading. She went, yeah, I read. I went, I read too. See, this is called Horus Rising. It's a really good book. Would you like, she went, no. You got to slowly. And now I'm at the stage where occasionally I might show her a miniature and say, look, I painted this. Isn't that exciting? Look at what I painted. And she'll go, no. So, but at least I've got to the stage where I can show her a miniature. And she'll look at it. I feel like that's progress. More than a decade, that's progress. She'll actually look at one. And when Sven Daxfist was here with his mono Slaanesh demon army, and because she sometimes pops in the room and say, I'm going to the shops or I'm doing this or that, she was like, oh, look at them. They're exciting, purple, fresh and new. I like them. And I was like, would you like me to buy you an entire Slaanesh mono demon army? And she went, no. But we tried. That's nice, dear. It's pretty much how that goes. So, Winters, any hobby shenanigans? What about 50 Black Templars into the alcohol bath because I suddenly had the urge to repaint them. I love those spontaneous decisions. Hobby shenanigans. Well, I showed you all the demons I got last week. That last week and the weekend were kind of, yeah. I haven't done I haven't started touching the demons yet. So I need to work on the demons to add the Emperor's Children. The other thing that's happening is that I need to practice that a couple of times because this weekend I'm going away to a Warhammer Horus Heresy event in Eastleigh run by Attrition Gamings, which are associated with Rift4 Studios YouTube channel. Attrition Gaming, you can find them on Facebook. They do a couple of Horus Heresy narrative events every year. And I got tickets for this one. I'm going with Alex SEO. And that's his army and that's my army. All packed up. Ready for play testing. I forget when we're playing. It's not tomorrow, but we've got to get a couple of games in. And we've already tested once. So that's happening. Looking forward to the weekend doing that. I'm also Sullivan Gilbert is here on Friday. It's October, guys. It's October. So Sullivan Gilbert's turning up with his orcs. And we're going to have a massive orc thing. So that's going to be exciting. And then, because I've had a long week, I haven't done any editing at all. So I'm way behind on the editing. I just did tomorrow's video today. So I need to catch up on the editing this week. And I vlogged the event, still on the phone, haven't even transferred it to the computer. I need to get all of those shots together into some kind of YouTube appropriate vlog. That's going to be a tricky one. So I need to do some work this year. So that's what's happening there. And then tomorrow, Firstborn Marines versus Necrons. And at the weekend, there's going to be a Horus Heresy game. I think it's Alpha Legion versus something. But it's a Horus Heresy one at the weekend. And then Firstborn Marines versus Necrons tomorrow. And that was a really good game, actually, with Poodle. Really good game. Really enjoyed that. I love getting OG 13th out on the table. So that was close as well. Close game. Lots of hero moments. That was fun. It was really good fun. Almost all the ladies I've been lucky to have a relationship with over the last decade have really enjoyed and appreciated my hobby, even if they didn't want to participate. It was. See, Poodle's in the chat. Poodle's in the chat. He said it was. It was a great game. I enjoyed it. Very close. Lots of epic moments. And yeah, looking forward to sharing that with you guys tomorrow. Have you had a chance to try out Mechanicum in 3.0? Not yet. Let's get past that event, the Heresy event that I'm going to with the Marines. The plan is this month to try some Mechanicum. Start dabbling in Mechanicum. I focused on the Legion stuff again and again and again to get my head around the 3rd edition rules. So I've got challenges down now. I understand how they work, and I've just about got down the flyer mechanic as well, because as you know, in Heresy 3.0 the challenge system is a mini game in the middle of the game, and flyers are a mini game in the middle of the game. Flyers in Heresy, they come on and go off in the movement phase. They're not there in the shooting phase. They're not there in the assault phase. They're not there in the start and end phase and the command phase. In the movement phase, they come on, they do their things, and they disappear. They're gone. And then in your phase, your flyer comes on, does its thing in the movement phase, and then gone in the movement phase. And any interactions that you have with your opponent's flyers happen in the movement phase, like Skyfire happens in the movement phase. Interacting, intercepting. If they bring a flyer on, you can do combat airspace. I forget what it's called. A rule where if they bring a flyer on, you can bring an interceptor on, and suddenly you have an air fight in the movement phase, and then they both disappear at the end of the movement phase. So there's a number of things that you do. So I've just got my head around, we just started playing with flyers for the first time to figure the flyer mechanic down in this edition of Horus Heresy. And it's a whole mini game. It's great fun as well. It's good. It works. It makes narrative sense. And I kind of like it. I kind of like the fact that zoom, gone. Strafing around, brrr, gone. It works. It took me a long time to get to the point where I'm going to do the flyers now, because I kind of avoided the challenges for the first 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 battles. So I've got the challenges down, I've got flyers down, and just about got there with most of the things. Now I can start doing Mechanicum after I've done the Heresy event. That's my plan. It's, if I wasn't filming the stuff, I'd have gone into it earlier, but I want to get it down so that when I film it, I don't make any mistakes, because I'm sure you'll agree with me that never in the history of YouTube ever have you ever seen a battle report on YouTube with a mistake in. And I don't want to be the first person to film a battle report and put it on YouTube with a mistake in. I'm sure you'll agree with me that never in the history of Warhammer ever has anyone ever made a mistake. And I'm sure you guys have never made a mistake or forgot something or misread something or picked up the wrong dice by mistake, by accident. And I'm sure none of you have ever made a mistake. So I've got to make sure, because I'm filming it, that I know what I'm doing and I know what the interactions are. I've got to get it down solid, because I don't want to be the first person to put a battle report on the internet with a mistake on in the world. So that's what, lock in on that stuff, lock in. And then once that's locked in, Mechanicum. You know what I mean? It's not that hard, just remember all the rules. All the rules, because they don't change every 2 weeks, do they? Never. Simples. Rules mistakes are against the rules. Exactly. No one makes rules mistakes. Everyone remembers all the rules ever. No one's made a mistake in the history of Warhammer ever. And I will not be that first person. I will not be that guy. I will not be that. No. So we'll get to Mechanicum. And when you see a Mechanicum battle report on the channel, no rules mistakes. Right, what's time? Banging on hour and a half. So, my throat, my voice just about held out for this one. After the greatest narrative 40k event ever. Still in recovery mode. Inshin only just got over his hangover today. And Injin says, all the rules, apart from the stuff that I forget that I would definitely benefit me at the time, but I totally forgot. Almost makes sense. It's almost a full sentence. And he's only just got over his hangover. Go back on the Pink and Blue Horrors winters. Dude, the Pink and Blue Horrors they were lovely. You, by the way, you were, I mean, I thought I was drunk. But I appreciate the fact that you made sure that I wasn't the drunkest person in the room. Thanks for that. I felt like you were helping out there. You know, like when you're really pissed and you're like, well, at least I'm not as pissed as that fella. You're like, phew. Because otherwise you're the most pissed person in the room. So Injin was definitely not letting the side down when it came to rolling around all over the place and being drunk. He was definitely, he set the bar. Definitely didn't learn a new rule the past weekend that totally screwed poor Sultan's Death Company over. Did you? You took one for the team, Injin. Yeah, so anyway, my throat just about hung in there for this live stream. Thank you for joining me on this live stream. This is your 2-minute warning, guys. Any more questions, any more feedback, any more insults, throw them at me. Throw them at me. Hit me, baby, one more time. Come on, let's go. And then we'll wrap it up, okay? I didn't yell at any clouds. Did I yell at any clouds? There was no yelling at clouds today. I think this was a positive, professional live stream. I don't think I said anything inappropriate either. I think this was good. This was good. Was it good? I think it was good. Was it good? I think it was okay. Take care. Take them off of the team. Will you ever do a heresy narrative event? There is one, yes, that we're going to be doing, I think, in May next year. We're going to fill up half the hall at Element Games. I think it's 48 tickets. So yes is the answer. We'll get to that. When your transport blows up, you can't charge and you're battle shocked. Yes, that's a thing. Service Girl's gifted a membership. GG's in the chat for Service Girl. You absolute legend. Thank you. Coming in at the end. Slipping one under the door there. Thank you, Service Girl. A cheeky little gifted membership at the end. You legend. GG's, dude. I'ma rewind and see what was said about the narrative event. Yeah. If you wanted to know about the greatest narrative 40k event ever, because I'm not going to go on and on about it. It's at the first half of the video. Sorry, late. Service Girl, you can walk in. You can slip one under the door whenever you want to. Service Girl, you're a good egg. Okay, you're a big egg. You're an ostrich egg. You're an ostrich egg, like a big, like if you had a scrambled ostrich egg on toast. That's a lot of egg. That's you, that is. Wrath Constantine, thank you for stopping by. Jaggers Woods, Taznara, Sullivan Gilbert, Red Richmond, thank you all for stopping by. And all the people who came to the narrative event at the weekend, thank you for leaning into the narrative and making it the greatest narrative 40k event in the world ever. I got to witness and play against the awesome Jaggers Wood Crew list. Did you? It was an awesome list. It was an awesome list. Just the fact, yes, good. I think he's going for GSC the next time, so he really likes pain. So close to finishing these Templars. Eternal Crusader, go and finish your Templars. What are we doing? We're pressing that. We're doing that. Have a good night all. Everyone, have a lovely evening. And make sure you stay hydrated and things. And happy walking. No white chocolate, the Eternal Crusader. No, there is no white chocolate gang. White chocolate gang is not a thing. White chocolate is not a thing, and the white chocolate gang is not. Don't start this. Don't start this. We are leaving. We are leaving. We are going. Back. I can't even send you to the back of the class because I'm closing up the class and the door is shutting. But white chocolate gang is not a thing. Do not start. Do not. I've had a good weekend. I've had a good week. I'm not biting. I'm going. I'm gone.